So I have some good news and some bad news. The good news is, today's deck list basically has its own price tag. You can just build it for whatever amount of gems you like. If you want to build it completely for free, go right ahead. If you want to build a really expensive variant, you can do that too, simply because the entire core of this deck list is all SR or lower. So if you want to chuck in a bunch of ultra rare tech cards and just ways to make the deck a little bit better, you can do that. But if you don't want to, you don't have any tech cards, you can just stick with the cheaper SR cards and the deck will still run just fine. But the bad news is, let's just say there's a reason Konami gives this one to you for free. Today's art type is obviously Gunkan Suship, which is an art type I've always wanted to make a video on, as I just know how cheap this art type can be, and now that we've got new support, I have a perfect reason to do so. But I've also always known how shit this art type actually is, especially in current meta. Unfortunately, in the current meta, there is a pretty big diversity of just types of decks. And what I mean by that is, there's like a shit ton of back row decks, there's a shit ton of just spammy decks, there's some grindy decks, there's just so much stuff everywhere that it's really hard to tech against certain matchups without having like side decks, which obviously best of ones, we don't have that. So bringing Lightning Storms against Runic feels pretty bad, but if you don't bring Lightning Storms, there is tons of other back row matchups like Labyrinth, where you're just gonna feel like absolute shit for not bringing it, so you have to run 3 Lightning Storm. Then you come across an Emancipator deck. All of a sudden, your Lightning Storm feels basically useless. You wish you had a Maxx. Then having Maxx, oh no, there's that Runic player again. And it's just a vicious cycle of just random ass decks, and you just never have enough tech cards to deal with every matchup. And unfortunately, because this art type doesn't have its own sort of inbuilt stuff, really, you don't really have anything to deal with anything. So you just lose. It's kind of hard to explain until you've actually seen the art type in action, but once you've played it, you'll kind of understand. This deck list does 2 things. The first thing is absolutely nothing. Yeah, literally nothing. This thing does absolutely 0 disruption in the art type at all, so you can't go first unless you just want to set up a Bagooska pass. That is literally your best turn 1. So it's left with only going second. And only going second means it just floods. That's all it can do. Spam out as many rank 4s as possible. That's sort of your win condition. Just summon a Utopia double and try to hit your opponent and hope they die, which does happen quite often. But the reason I'm giving you this sort of disclaimer before the video starts is so you don't get massively disappointed by trying out this art type and figuring out, yeah, it's pretty average, because that's exactly what this art type is. It's very bad. But it is very free, so hey, go have some fun. So here's today's deck list. Now just a reminder before I get into the deck list, if you're enjoying today's video and want to see more content just like this in the future, especially if you're a returning viewer, as apparently about 50% of people watching this are even subscribed to the channel, yet nearly all of you are returning viewers who have seen my content before. So if you find yourself keen to come back to the channel and want to see more content just like this in the future, remember to leave a like on this video and consider subscribing to the channel down below. Alright, let's get into the deck list. So for those of you that haven't played this art type before, it's essentially just a bunch of sushi you want to turn into a bunch of ships, and depending on what sushi you use for what ship, you gain various effects. So you generally want to match up the correct sushi with the correct ship. This is a weird archetype. This archetype has 5 main deck monsters, with one of which just straight up being a normal monster, but you do need to run this because of its name, since most of your monsters do use Shari to be able to special summon or use various effects. Now I'll try to go through the effect monsters fairly quickly, so I won't keep you here too long. So the first one is Ikura. This card, if you control a Shari, can special summon itself from your hand. Then you can activate the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you find a copy of Shari, you can special summon it to the field or add it to your hand. Then we have your Shirauo. This card, if you control a Shari or if you have as Xyz material, can also special summon itself from your hand. It can then special summon another Gunkan card straight from your hand to the field. Shari Red is the brand new card for the art type. It has 2 pretty important effects. The first one is its name is basically always treated as the same as your normal monsters, which is pretty important considering obviously all your Gunkan cards need this card in hand to be able to use their various effects, so they can now just use your Shari Red as a substitute. The other effect of Shari Red is it can reveal a copy of Shari in hand to special summon itself to the field and any other Gunkan card from your deck to then special summon out or Xyz summon out your matching ship. So for example, if you use this card to summon out a copy of your Ikura, you can summon out your Ikura-class straight from the extra deck. The final main deck monster is going to be your Uni. This card can reveal one of your Sharis in hand to special summon itself and that Shari straight to the field. You can then change either card in the field to being either level 5 or level 4 to go into whatever level 4 Xyz monster you like, or go into your level 5 Uni-class ship. When you do change a level, it also gives you a search for a copy of your Shari, or of course your card that's treated as Shari, straight from your deck to your hand. Now we'll move on to the actual ships. Now the ships are a lot more easy to get your head around, as they will have very simple effects, all of which come with the same effect, where if you have a Shari as material when it's summoned, it will draw one card. Then they will have a bonus effect, depending on if you matched up with their correct sushi. So for example, your Ikura has an effect if you used your Gunkan Suship Ikura. This card can make a second attack during each battle phase. Then we have your Uni-class, which allows you to attack directly if you used your Uni. And finally, we have your... I have no idea how to pronounce this, but this card basically can search for your field spell, which is a card that allows you to stack your deck list to make things a lot easier when you're drawing extra cards, so you can continue flooding the board, which you'll see during the gameplay. As for the rest of the deck list, it's all just standard Xyz stuff you've probably seen before, and if you haven't, you'll see it during the gameplay anyway. So without further ado, let's get into some gameplay. Alright, so before I get into these gameplays, I do have to briefly warn you that because this deck list isn't exactly that great, the replays are also not going to be that great either. Some of them are pretty spicy, but a lot of them are just sort of, my opponent ends on some sub-optimal board, so I just absolutely dick him, and that's basically just how this deck wins games most of the time. If you go up against an opponent with a competent deck who sets up a competent board, you're probably not going to win a lot of the time, so without further ado, let's get into some of these replays. Alright, so a lot of these replays are going to be, basically just me summoning my double and just leafling my opponent, since a lot of the time if your opponent just has a 1600 attack monster or a 1500 attack monster on field, you can just lethal them from there, so that's what a lot of these replays end up being. Alright. So first dude was playing Pendulum, which I assume was trying to do some sort of FTK, but thankfully, because he's playing hand traps, he's actually didn't get the perfect start, or maybe he just doesn't know how to play the deck, I don't know. Either way, he does a bunch of Pendulum stuff, which I don't really know what all this stuff does because I don't play Pendulum because it's cringe. But thankfully he doesn't do any FTKing. I'll fast forward here though because yeah, I think his turn lasts a little while. It's these two dudes, their effects are negated, does a Pendulum summon, pops some stuff, searches for some more stuff. I'm sure someone in the comments will tell me if this guy misplayed and he could have had some sort of FTK here or not. Goes for Electromite, gives himself a search. And I think all he ends on is like one negate trap card in combination with Appaloosa. I think that's just all his turn ended up being. So they generate a lot of value. Alright. Eventually he'll reach the end of his turn after doing so much stuff. All this work to end on just one Appaloosa and one trap card negate. Pops his card, copying it, blah 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 blah. Come on, get on with it, buddy. Alright. I think he just does his final Link Summon, sets his trap card, and passes the turn. Oh my god, eventually. Come on, I've got other things to do this year, buddy. New Year's is coming up. I do want to have this video out before the end of 2022, you know. Alright. So after all that, I activate my Feather Duster, and he's left with just an Appaloosa. Of course, I'm just going to imperm that right away, put it to 0 attack. He's already lowered his own life points for me, being a nice guy. Alright. I reveal this card in hand to special summon my Uni to the field. Try to adjust the level. This triggers his Ash Blossom because it was also going to search for a card. That's completely fine by me, because now we haven't even used a normal summon yet. So I can just normal summon my Shari to the field. Xyz summon double. He's already used his Ash Blossom, so he can't stop this. Search for my double or nothing. Bring out Utopia. Swing in, negate my own attack, double my attack with double or nothing, and that's 10,000 damage straight to the dome. That's generally how this deck is going to win games. Alright. So I'm glad that guy maybe wasted 20 minutes of my life just to do absolutely nothing. Good on him. Alright. Replay number 2. But yeah, you kind of see what I mean though, where just my opponent's end boards, if they're not like, if they don't really do a whole lot, you can sort of flood through it. But if they do something, yeah, you'd struggle a lot. If that guy actually set up like one more negate, I would have been in quite a bad spot. Alright, so once again going second. I think all my replays are going second because this deck wants to go second. Versus a Runic player who for some reason starts with Fangs on the field. So if I had like Lightning Storm, it would have wiped his board anyway. Not that mattered because apparently this guy didn't actually want to play Runics how you're meant to play them. He just summoned a bunch of stuff. You'll see, it's a bit weird. So it gets at Alistair. Of course I'm going to imperm that. Don't want him to be able to do any searching. But then he activates Mask Change too, which the card I've never seen resolved before. I was like, huh, what the fuck is he going to do with this card? And there's a Dark Claw. Not what I expected from the Runic deck when I first saw it, but sure. Thankfully my cards don't actually care about going to the being banished, so it's pretty whatever. And he also ends on a Kaliga? I've now to pronounce that. Kaliga. Basically a card that just says, hey, you can only use one monster effect a turn. Which is a little bit rough. But we have a way to deal with it. So we're just going to activate our Unexpected Die, summon a card to the field. Then you guys are going to avert your eyes while I activate this Painful Decision, which was in fact a painful decision. Didn't even get it searched because I'm a dum-dum. Forgot that Dark Claw stops that from happening. Summon my Chakanine. Oh, I have never pronounced that either. Bring up my boar. Hit him in the face. No activated effects yet. So I can simply just summon out Zeus. And bye-bye my opponent's board. And from here I can use my Suship, revealing my dude in hand, summon it to the field, summon a card to the field, make them both level 4, then go into various other Xyz monsters if you let me, but yeah, you just conceded, so. Alright, on to replay number 3. So that was a bit of a spicy replay, that one. Probably because my opponent's deck was a little bit spicy, to be fair. Not the standard sort of Floodgate-y Runic, but actually doing something a bit more fun, I guess. But we did technically end on a Floodgate with Dark Claw, but we'll let him go, we'll let him go. Alright, it's not too bad of a hand, did have a Maxx. Too bad we're playing a deck that doesn't care about Maxx. And this is what I meant by in the intro where there's so many tech cards right now that just end up being completely useless depending on the matchup. Like even the Lightning Storm I didn't have a Lightning Storm last game, but if I had Lightning Storm last game, it should have been useless into Runic. Alright, activates his Trap Trick. I was like, huh, I hope this is going to be summoning out Awaking the Dragon, and yes it was. Thankfully though, he summoned out a Notorio Exterio rather than summoning out the Last Warrior from Another World, which is what I was worried about. Because Last Warrior stops me special summoning, or summoning in general, I'm pretty sure. And Exterio just stops me activating spell and trap cards, which I just don't need it anyway. This deck can search for its field spell and use its field spell, but you don't really need it all that often. So he's used Jack to get a hold of a trap card he can't use. So I'm just going to reveal cards, special summon some cards, search for my Shari, use the red with the Shari I just searched for to summon it to the field, summoning out my Ikura, bringing out a Dreadnought, which gives me a draw, summon my dude, summon my other dukes I just normal summoned. By the way, if you're wondering why I'm running a copy of Kagetokage in this deck list, it's because I'm also running the... where is he? I'm running the King of the Feral Imps, which can search for it, which I'm hoping comes up on the other replays. I don't remember if I used it or not, but I know I did use it when I was playing this deck list quite a bit, because it basically just gives you a special summonable level 4 whenever you normal summon one of your dudes. Hopefully I'll show a replay of an example of it, but I think it's a cool little tech to run the deck list. Alright, sign out my Ashima, how do I pronounce this card? Basically two monsters with the same level, and this card basically takes one card from your graveyard, one card from your hand, and Xyz summons. So it brings out this dude, and I then do an Xyz summon, and yeah, he was beyond dead. I would have gone into a lot more than just that. Alright, so I think we're on to number 4 now, I think. Alright. So, pretty awful hand, I'm gonna be honest. You don't generally want to open double Lightning Storm since it's a once per turn card. But this guy ended on a really shit board. I have no idea what this guy was doing. There's no way this is the best board he could have ended on. Strike a dragon. I was expecting a Colossus to come out at some point, but he sort of just... yeah, he summoned this guy, made Verte, made DPE and passed. I'm like, huh, that's it. Just a DPE pass. So all I need to do is negate this DPE, and then I can just beat over his Verte and kill him. Or beat over his Dragon Dark and beat him, sorry. Alright, unexpected die. He has a Maxx C. I'm going to ignore that completely. I am going to dick this guy. I don't care how many cards he draws. Summon my Shari. Painful decision, sending one of the normal monsters to the grave to then search for a card. He has an Ash Blossom, of course. Doesn't matter too much though, because I've still got plenty of extenders to go. And now I've got Ash Blossom out of the way for our Utopia search. Shirauo, summoning my Uni. Stacking the top of my deck list. Searching for a red by changing the level, making it level 5. We wanted to make the level 5 purely because this level 5 can actually, well, as you're about to see, has a little bit of disruption during your opponent's battle phase or your main phase. It can actually quick effect, target a card on field, and negate its effects. So I'm going to negate this dude real quick. And because I haven't even used my normal summon yet, I can now just summon this card to the field. And there's my double. I think this guy conceded before the full combo went off, I think. Grab double or nothing. Go into my boy. And he's gone. Alright. On to the final replay. Which I don't recall at the moment. I don't actually know what that guy set up such a weak board. I'm pretty sure he would be better off just summoning the Verte and tribute summoning over it and just calling it a day. Just make it out the Colossus and calling it a day. Or just not link summoning into the Verte. Either way. This guy sets up 4 back row. So I'm pretty sure he was playing Labyrinth of some sort, but didn't get the Labyrinth card. Which is lucky for me, so I summon out my Shari, use my thing, send normals to the grave, add my Shari to hand. Reveal, special summon. Summon dude from... wherever I summoned that from, I forgot what I just did, either way. Use my Gunkan Suship to then search for my field spell and also draw a card. Activate the field spell. Now I went for the field spell as quickly as possible because the field spell, when it's on the field, in combination with this card, actually protects your cards from destruction, as you're about to see. So the first thing I want to do when I'm against this many trap cards, and I know it's probably going to be the deck that I mentioned before, whatever the name was, Labyrinth, oh, sorry, I'm mental blanked. I know I want to get out the anti-destruction card because most of his trap cards are destruction or return to hand, but hopefully he has something like punishment which we can sort of counter. So he tries to target it, it's immune, doesn't give a shit. Unfortunately though, we do lose our field spell after just that though. Normal summon out my Kakoges from hand. Go into my Ashima. Special summon back the 2 cards, so now I can Exceed summon into my Timeless. This is because I wanted to have a card in the field that I can detach materials from, because when you detach materials below your, or when you, below a link arrow this card's pointing to, holy shit I'm stuttering so much today. Detach 2 cards, this card's effect will then go off, then target one of these cards and destroy it. This card's going to bring back a card from the graveyard. This card's actually pretty bonkers in this deck list, because all 3 of its effects are really nuts. One of them just draws 2 cards for more follow-up. One of them just allows you to skip your next main phase to special summon a card back from the graveyard, so I can do an Exceed summon, as I could do right here. And the last one literally doubles the attack of one of your cards, so when you have your Suship on the field that does multiple attacks, it's pretty damn bonkers, wherever the red one is. This one. So then we have this card on the field that can make a second attack. You can double its attack to being whatever it is, and it can just beat over your opponent twice for a lot of damage, so pretty nuts card. And my opponent just concedes from there. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's replays. Hope you guys enjoyed them. If you did, remember to leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, hope to see you guys in the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.